Begin today the Gemara on Daf Kuf Nun Beis, right at the beginning of the Yamut. The Gemara continues with the halachas of a shchiv merah, a dying person that's giving a gift. The Chachamim generally instituted that this gift takes effect even though it's taking effect after he passed away, and this is a gift that takes effect. Okay, there's different details about this halacha that we learned before here. The Gemara continues here and brings a machlokes between Rav and Shmuel. So Itmar, we learned the following argument. Matna shchiv merah, a gift of a shchiv merah, shekasav ba kinyan, that it's written in the star of the shchiv merah that there was a kinyan made here. So whether this is with a star that it's written, or there was actually without even a star, but there was a kinyan made here. Now what kind of a matan of a shchiv merah are we talking about? As we learned before in the Mishnah and the Gemara, there could be a matan of a shchiv merah that he's giving everything away, or a shchiv merah that's only giving away miktsas nachosov, part of his possessions. The Rashbamir says, and he brings a few proofs for this, that the Gemara here is talking about a matana of a shchiv merah where he's giving everything away. The Gemara here doesn't say b'miktsas, it doesn't say that it was just miktsas. And also, the Rashbam points out that the Gemara before in Daf Kuf Nun Aleph said that when you give a matana, shchiv merah, give his matana only b'miktsas, not everything, just a percent of his possessions. Over there, everybody agrees. Rav Nachman before said the Gemara paskin that you have to make a kinyan. So here, the Rashbam says we're talking about the matana of a shchiv merah where he's giving everything away, but then he adds that there was a kinyan made there, and or without it the shtar, as I mentioned, there was a kinyan made here. So now the question is, what happens when you add this kinyan? So Rav Beirav Mishmei de Rav Omri. So by the yeshiva of Rav, in the name of Rav, they said, Arkevei atrei richshi, that this is a kind of matana that he made it to ride on two horses. Meaning that the fact that you add a kinyan makes it even stronger. The Gemara will soon explain. Shmuel Omar, but Shmuel says, no, the fact that he added a kinyan here, so now, lo yadayna ma'odem bo, I don't know how to judge this case. So this matana cannot take effect. Now the Gemara explains, by Rav Mishmei de Rav Omri, they said in the name of Rav that Arkevei atrei richshi, that this is riding on two horses. What does this mean? Harehi kematnas bari. On one hand, it's going to be like the matana of a healthy person because there's a proper kinyan that was made here. And also, harehi kematnas shchiv merah. It's also going to be like the matana of a shchiv merah. Meaning the fact that he added a kinyan, even though by a matana of a shchiv merah you don't need a kinyan, does not weaken it. It only makes it stronger. So harehi kematnas bari, it's going to be like a matana of a healthy person, she'im amad, that even if this person recovers from his illness, ein a chayzer. You can't retract from the gift. Even though usually b'shchiv merah, in a case where you're giving everything away and he recovers, you could. But here, because he added a kinyan, it makes it stronger. You can't have charata. And harei kematna shchiv merah, and this gift will have also the power of a gift of a shchiv merah, of a dying person. She'im omar, if as part of this gift he says halva osai, money that's owed to me, leplaini, should be given to someone else. That someone else should have the right to collect this money that's owed to me. Halva osai leplaini. This matana, this that he writes that someone else should collect, takes effect that that person gets the rights to collect this. Now, by a healthy person, when you give a gift and you say that the money that so-and-so owes me should go to someone else, it doesn't take effect unless it's ma'amet shloshton, unless you have three people together. They're all three here. But if you're here even without the three people here, it will take effect because it's a matana of a shchiv merah. So basically the point that Rav is saying is that adding a kinyan in the shtar or making a kinyan does not weaken the matana of the shchiv merah, it just makes it stronger. Shmuel Omar, Shmuel says, lo yadayna ma'odem bo. No, in such a case where he added the kinyan, so I don't know how to judge this. Because when you add a kinyan, I would say that Shema lo gomar lahaknoisai ela b'shtar. Maybe he's giving out a matana of a shchiv merah. And the matana of a shchiv merah is a matana that only takes effect after the person dies. But now that he adds a kinyan, so maybe what he's doing by this is that he doesn't want it to take effect only with this kinyan that's here written in the shtar, and vein shtar la chamisa. But there's no shtar that can take effect. The kinyan of the shtar, or the kinyan that you made, does not take effect achamisa. You added a kinyan, but you added a kinyan to what? You added a kinyan to the matan of a shchiv merah, which is only taking effect after he passes away. So the fact that you add a kinyan, says Shmuel, is not going to make it any better. Adarabah. What's going to happen over here is you're basically saying it's remaining a matan of a shchiv merah, which only takes effect after this person dies. and after he dies, then he should acquire with a kinyan. But how? The kinyan can't take effect after he dies. So therefore Shmuel says, when you add this kinyan, it actually makes a problem now. So therefore, the whole kinyan, the whole matana here, does not take effect at all. So the Gemara says, V'rami de Rav, a contradiction was asked in Rav's opinion, from what Rav said here, to what Rav said elsewhere, or the Shmuel, and also a contradiction in Shmuel's opinion. The Shalach Ravin Mishmei de Rabavo. Ravin sent, in the name of Rabavo, Havayadi, you should know that Shalach Rabbalazar Legaila. Rabbi Lazar sent to the exile, Mishum Rabbeinu, in the name of our teacher, which is Rav, the following halacha, Shchiv Mira, Sha'amar, Shchiv Mira, that says, Kisvu Utnu Mana Leplaini. You should write and you should give this mana to so and so. Umeis, and he dies. So in this case, Rav says, Ein Kaisim V'Noisnin, we do not write this star and give this mana to so and so. Why? Because Shema Legomer Lahak Noisai Ela B'Shtar. Maybe now that he says that it should be given only with a star, that you should write it and give him the star, so maybe he doesn't want that it should take effect until you give him the star. But if you're giving the star after he passes away, and it's only taking effect through the star that you're giving him now, so then it can't take effect. It's too late. He already died. A kinyan can't take effect after the person died. There's no document that takes effect after he died. Now that's what Rav said. So right here we have a contradiction in Rav's opinion. Before Rav said that when you give a matan of shchiv mira and you add a kinyan, what does that do? It only strengthens it. It doesn't make it weaker. And here Rav says that the person, a shchiv mira, says to give a gift, and he adds that you should give him a star for this, kaisvin, you should write him a star for this, and because he says to write a star, here Rav says it makes it weaker. We say that maybe he only wanted it should be kaina after he dies with a star. Now what did Shmuel say about this? Hilcha said that the halacha in this case is kaisvin v'noisnin, that you write the star and you give the gift for the shchiv mira, even though he said to write a star in addition to saying that you should give him the gift. He also says that it should be with a star, but it only makes it stronger. It means that it's taking effect like the matan of a shchiv mira. The fact that you said that you're going to give a star afterwards, it's not because it's only going to take effect with the star after he dies. No, it's just here to make it stronger that he should have a star. But it's not limiting, it's not weakening the kinyan. So, if so, Kashya the Rav, this is a contradiction in Rav's opinion, and Kashya the Shmuel, and it's a contradiction in Shmuel's opinion as well. So the Gemara answers the Rav, loy Kashya. The contradiction in Rav's opinion is not a question, because it's not exactly the same case. The konomine. In the previous case where Rav says that it becomes better is when you actually made a kinyan. You wrote into the shtad a kinyan, or there was a kinyan made. So once you make a kinyan, we say that the point of the kinyan is just to make it stronger, that he can't have charata from this gift. But it takes effect right away. And over here, there was no kinyan. Over here, the shchiv mira said that he said kisfu tnu, not with a kinyan. He said write and give. Over here, we say that maybe he didn't want to give unless you're going to write him a shtar. And the shtar is only being written after he dies. So then it's too late. There was no kinyan made. A kinyan is a stronger thing that we say that he wanted to make the matana to be strong, so he made a kinyan. But when he says kisvu, maybe he didn't want to make a stronger matana. He just wanted to make it conditional to writing a shtar. And it's only being written after he dies. That's why over here, Rav would say it doesn't work. Now, the Shmuel, Kashya, contradiction in Shmuel's opinion is also not a question, because over here, b'meyape es koichai. And it says here that Shmuel says you can write him the shtar even after he dies. The reason is because here, the way the person said it, the way the shchiv mira said it, or even he wrote this, it was written in a way that's clear that he's only saying it or writing it to make the koyach of the recipient of the gift even stronger. He wasn't saying that the gift should be conditional on writing the shtar. No, I'm giving you the gift. Matana v'shchiv mira. But you should write it just to give him a proof, or to give him to make it stronger for him. The Gemara is soon going to spell out what exactly it is that he said that makes it clear that it's miyapes koyach, that it's just coming to strengthen his koyach. So first the Gemara brings another question that was asked in Shmuel's opinion, and then the Gemara is going to spell out what's this. How do we know that it's a case where Shmuel would agree that he's only doing it because he wants to strengthen his koyach? So Yosef Rav Nachman by Yitzchak, Achayre de Rava. Rav Nachman Yitzchak was sitting behind the Rava. V'Yosef Rava kamei de Rav Nachman, and Rava was sitting in front of Rav Nachman. So Kabayim Inei, Rava asked Rav Nachman, Mi Oma Shmuel. is it true that Shmuel said, going back to the first case we had before, when a Shchiv Merah gives a gift and he makes a kinyan? And regarding that case, is it true that Shmuel said, Shema legama laknoisai, that maybe now that he made a kinyan, so we say that maybe he didn't want him to acquire ela b'shtar, only with the shtar, and vein shtar la'achamisa, and therefore there's no shtar after he passes away, and therefore the whole maton of the Shchiv Merah does not take effect. But v'hamer Rav Yehuda Shmuel, Rav Yehuda said something else in the name of Shmuel. We had this before here in the Gemara, that Shchiv Merah shekosav kol nechasav la'achedim, a Shchiv Merah that writes that he's giving all of his properties to someone, afal pisha kanami yodai, even if it's a gift with a kinyan that was made as well, Ahmad, if he recovers from his illness, chayzer, he's allowed to retract from this. Why is that? Because in such a case where he's giving everything away, b'yidua shalehaya kinyan elamachmas hamisa. Even if he didn't spell it out clearly, explicitly, but we know that the whole kinyan, the whole gift, and even with a kinyan was all made because he was passing away, because he's giving everything away. He's not leaving anything for himself. So right here we see clearly that Shmuel said that this is a matan of a Shchiv Merah with a kinyan. You added a kinyan to it, and here Shmuel says that if he's going to recover, so then he could have charata from the kinyan. But otherwise, if he passed away, this matana of the Shchiv Merah takes effect. But Shmuel before said if you add a kinyan, it's a problem, because then you're basically saying that the matana of the Shchiv Merah that takes effect only after he dies is only with a kinyan, and then it's too late. The kinyan can't take effect then. So there's a contradiction in Shmuel's opinion. This is what Rava asked Rav Nachman. Now, va'ach vilei biyodei, Rav Nachman made a sign to Rava with his hands, and ve'ishtik, and Rava was quiet. The Rashbam has two pshat, and one pshat is that he made him a sign with his hands, hinting to him, I have an answer for this question. And he didn't tell him what the answer is. Another pshat is that Rashbam says he hinted him with his hands what his answer is, as we'll see here. So what happened? What was actually the answer to this contradiction? So the answer is the same like the Gemara already said before. So Kikom, when Rav Nachman got up, Omer Rav Nachman v'Yitzchak l'Rava, Rav Nachman v'Yitzchak said to Rava, Ma yachviloch? What was he hinting to you when he made with his hand? Omalei, so he was hinting to me, b'miyape es koichai, that when Shmuel here said that when you add a kinyan to the matana of a Shchiv Merah, that the matana of the Shchiv Merah does take effect, that's when he makes it clear explicitly that he's only adding the kinyan because he wants to strengthen the matana. Then I say that if he dies, it's going to take effect. Now, what is the case? When is it clear that he's only adding the kinyan to strengthen the matana and not to make it weaker? Rav Chisda says, if he writes in the shtar, the kanina minei meisif amatan tada, that I made a kinyan from the one that's giving it to me, adding to the gift that he gave me as a Shchiv Merah. So you're making it clear that it's just to be meisif, to add. Meisif amatan tada. When you add that, then it's clear that the kinyan is not here to make it conditional, that it won't take effect until after he dies, and only then will the kinyan take effect, and it's too late. Like Shmuel said, that's what Shmuel said. In the regular case, when a Shchiv Merah that's giving it all away and makes a kinyan, so then the kinyan makes a problem. But if you write this, then Shmuel will say that it will take effect. Okay, now the Gemara goes on here with other halachas regarding the matan of a Shchiv Merah. Pshite, this halacha is obvious. Everyone agrees to this. Kosav lezeh. If you write, a Shchiv Merah writes a gift that he's giving it to one person, and then v'kosav lezeh, and then afterwards he decides that he wants to give it to someone else, whether this was verbally or whether written, he's giving it then to someone else. So what happens now? Who does it go to? So Hainu, this is the halacha, the chiyasa Rav Dimi Yomar. Rav Dimi came and said that the halacha is daitiki mivateles daitiki, that when you write a matan of a Shchiv Merah, the word daitiki is made up of a few words, dot tehele mekim ulamehevi, that's what you write. This should be, so one matan of the Shchiv Merah, and then a second one. The second one undoes the first matan of the Shchiv Merah, so it goes to the second person. That's a halacha everyone agrees to. Now, what? Yeah, this was brought up before already. Yeah. Now here the shaila is, and here again is a machlokes of Rav and Shmuel. Kosav v'ziko lezeh. He wrote a matan of a Shchiv Merah, but not only that, he took this shtar and actually gave it to this person that he's giving it to him to a gift. The first person, he gave it to him. And then kosav v'ziko lezeh. And then he writes another matan of a Shchiv Merah and he's mezakeh to another person. So in this case, Rav says, Rishon Kana. the first one will acquire, and we're not going to say that he has the ability to be chayzer and now to give it to the second person. And the reason for this is based on what Rav said before, because you didn't just write a matana for as a shchiv mirah, but you also will mezakit him the shtar. You gave him the shtar. So this is like a kinyan you made now. So in such a case, it's not mamash a kinyan. He didn't make like a regular kinyan of chalipin, but he gave him the shtar in his hands. It's like a kinyan. So this is like what Rav said before. It's like it's riding on two horses. You add it over here. Then in such a case, just like Rav said before, that when you add a kinyan, even if the shchiv mirah recovers from his illness, he can't be chayzer from this. So in this case as well, once you give it to the first person, and then additionally you gave him the shtar, you can't be chayzer from this. Even if you gave him everything. Shmuel Amar, but Shmuel says no sheni kana. The second one will acquire the matana of the shchiv mirah. So now, what Shmuel says is also based on what his opinion was before. Right? Said that in such a case, here the Gemara is going to explain. Let's see. Rav says it's the first one that acquires because arei kamatna's body. Now it's like a matana of a healthy person because you didn't just write that you're giving him a matana of a shchiv mirah. You actually gave him a shtar into his hand. So that strengthens it to be like a matana of a body. So now you can't change and give it to a second person. Shmuel says the second one will acquire. No, it's going to have the halacha of a matana of a shchiv mirah. Just like Shmuel said before, that when you add a kinyan, it doesn't make it better. Adarabah, when you make a matana of a shchiv mirah, and then you add a kinyan, now it makes it worse because we say that the kinyan is only taking effect after you die, so now it can't take effect at all. So if you hear in this case, that it's not going to be mamash like that. It's not going to be a problem that it can't take effect because you didn't actually make another kinyan here. But he took the shtar and gave it to this person. According to Shmuel, this is a regular matana of shchiv mirah. The fact that you're giving it to him doesn't make it any stronger, doesn't make it any better that I now say that it becomes like a matana of a body. It's like a regular matana of a shchiv mirah. And therefore, like the halacha always is by a matana of a shchiv mirah, that you could have charata from this and give it to someone else. So the Gemara asks, when he gave the shtar to the first person, it's a matana of a shchiv mirah, but not stronger than a regular matana of a shchiv mirah. So therefore, you could be chayzer and give it to the second one. That's why the second one will be zeich in it. Now the Gemara asks on this, since this is all based on the previous machlekes of Rav and Shmuel, they argued about this point already before. We're basically just bringing the machlekes, applying it to this case here. And that is where, as we had before the machlekes and Amar Aleph, by a matana of a shchiv mirah, where there was a kinyan that was added. So over here as well, it's similar. It's a matana of a shchiv mirah, where the shchiv mirah went and gave an actual shtar to the recipient. Okay, question is, does it make it stronger or not? So isn't it similar? So why are we saying it again, that it's a machlekes of Rav and Shmuel? And says the Gemara, no, tzricha. We have to say the machlekes in this case again. Why? Because the itmer baha, if we would only say the machlokes in the previous case where you added a kinyan, baha kam Rav, there Rav says that the kinyan will take this gift of a shchiv mirah and add to it that it becomes like the gift of a healthy person. Why? Mishum the konim in it, because there you actually made a proper kinyan. There was the matana of the shchiv mirah, then a kinyan a chalipin, or a proper kinyan. Aval baha the like konim in here where there was no real kinyan, you gave the shtar to the recipient, which is like a kinyan. It's stronger than just writing it. You gave it to him. But there was no proper kinyan here. I would think that over here we would agree to Shmuel that this is still considered to be like a regular matana of a shchiv mirah, and therefore you could have charata from this and to decide to give it to someone else. So that's why it's telling us that even in this case, Rav holds that giving it to the first recipient strengthens it like a matana of a body, and you can't have charata. And therefore the same thing on the other hand. If we would only bring the halacha here that Shmuel says that you could still have charata and give it to someone else, I would say baha kama Shmuel. That's only in this case because there was no proper kinyan made. It was just that you gave the shtar. But in the previous case where there was a kinyan, I would say he agrees to Rav that once you make a kinyan, it becomes like a matana of a healthy person, and then you can't have charata from this kinyan at all. So therefore tzricha, therefore it has to say that the machlokes of Shmuel is in that case as well. Now, the Surah Masnu Hachi. In Surah, they taught the halacha, as we just quoted it here, this halacha of Rav and Shmuel, machlokes. But the Pumbedisa Masnu Hachi. In the city Pumbedisa, they taught the halacha as follows. That the case was a little different. Amar Rav Yirmiyah bar Abba. Rav Yirmiyah bar Abba said, Sholchalem ibei Rav L'Shmuel, they sent from the yeshiva of Rav to ask Shmuel, Yirlamdeinu Rambeinu, our teacher Shmuel should tell us what would be the halach in the following case. Shchiv Mirah, shekosav kol nochosav la'acherim. A Shchiv Mirah that writes that he's giving all of his possessions to someone, to people, and v'konu miyadai, and they made a kinyan. Now the case over here is that the Rashbam says over here in this case, it was written, the Shchiv Mirah wrote this in a document, and he gave the document to the recipient, and he made a kinyan. So this is different than the cases we had before. Before we had a case where he made a kinyan, the Shchiv Mirah gave the gift and he made a kinyan. That was the case in Amar Aleph. Then we had the case over here where the Shchiv Mirah wrote that he's giving a gift and he gave the shtar. Here, this case is all three. He wrote a shtar, he gave it to the recipient, and he made a kinyan. So Mahu, what's the halach in this case? The question is, could the Shchiv Mirah still have charata from this kinyan? If he recovers, or could he decide to give it to someone else? Shalach lahu. So in this case, Shmuel said, Ein acha kinyan klum. Once you wrote a shtar, you gave him the shtar, and you made a kinyan. You went through such a tircha to go and give him the shtar and make a kinyan. So that's it. You can't have charata from this anymore. It's done. It's like a kinyan of a body that you can't have charata. Okay, let's finish the inyan over here. Now, savar minei. So they thought that what Shmuel was paskening here is hani mili la'acher. This is when you gave it to one person and now you would want to have charata and give it to someone else, like the example we had before. So for that we say that he can't change to give it to someone else. But for himself, if he recovered and he wants to have charata from this, he still could. We would say that he was doing this because he was passing away and he still could have charata from this. So for himself, this pshat din of Shmuel does not apply. But Amalu Rav Chizde said, Ki Yasser Rav Huna mi Kufri, when Rav Huna came from Kufri, Pirsha, so he explained and said that what Shmuel paskent here is, Bein la'atzmai, Bein la'acherim. Whether he wants to have charat from this for himself, because he recovered from the illness, or he wants to have charat, he wants to give it to someone else, either way, he can't change anymore. If you went and wrote a shtar, and gave the shtar, and made a kinyan, at that point you can't change anymore. So the Gemara brings a story that happened, and they passed in this way. There was this case where he wrote a shtar, and he gave the shtar, and he made a kinyan, and then Asl Kamed Rav Huna, they came to ask Rav Huna about this halacha. Could he have charata from it, or could he give it to someone else? Omar, so Rav Huna said, Ma yevad lach, what should I do for you? You didn't do what the Shchiv Mirah usually does. Usually a Shchiv Mirah, he writes, and he doesn't give the shtar and make a kinyan to make it so strong that he shouldn't be able to have charata. Usually a Shchiv Mirah doesn't do all of this. You went out of your way and you did all of this. Over here, Shmuel holds that you're going to be kaina and you can't have charata from this anymore. So even Shmuel that said before in Amar Aleph that when you write a kinyan after you made a Shchiv Mirah, we say it makes it worse. But in this case, Shmuel will be made over here. Shmuel holds if you wrote the shtar and gave the shtar and then made a kinyan, then you can't have charata from this anymore.
Why is it different?
Because over here we see that he's giving the shtar and he wants to be zeicher right away. The fact that he's giving him the shtar right now, he already gave him the shtar. He's giving him the shtar now, and he's making a kinyan. In the previous case, he didn't give the shtar. He wrote the shtar, and then he makes a kinyan. So we could say that kinyan only takes effect after, and then it's too late. But over here, he writes the shtar and gives him the shtar and makes the kinyan. Here, Shmuel's maida that it'll take effect right away.